Want to stay ahead of the game in the solar industry? Look no further than Data Factory. Data Factory provides data from global PV supply, demand, latest technology trends, manufacturers' utilization rates, supply chain's cost structure to real-time InfoLink analyst comments. Data Factory has 8 interactive, visualized dashboards. Each dashboard comes with multi-filter function, analytic graphs, and a data download function. As manufacturers are becoming more vertical integrated, let's see how we can obtain industry intelligence on competitors with Data Factory. Go to the competitor analysis dashboard. You'll see the vertical integrated production capacity by manufacturers and countries. On the right, competitor comparison allows you to compare business roadmap of multiple companies. The graph shows that leading manufacturers are actively expanding their upstream production capacities. For more detailed information, use the Add a New X-axis feature. For example, add a new X-axis and select country. You'll see manufacturers' cell production expansion plans outside of China. Use technology to compare N-type TOPCon expansion plans of vertically integrated manufacturers. Data Factory complies market trends of polysilicon wafer cell and module sectors. Check polysilicon sector, the recent industry focus. Choose Y and years. It shows polysilicon production capacity has grown in 2023. The bar chart shows the expansion progress of manufacturers. The stack chart displays the increasing overall production capacity. You can use Data Factory's map feature in the bottom right corner to get a comprehensive view of polysilicon production worldwide. Switch the graph to site. You can see although Xinjiang polysilicon has drastically declined in percentage, production is even more concentrated in China as a country. Switch the graph to company and remove China from the filter to view overseas polysilicon manufacturers. Data Factory empowers you with real-time industry information and analyst notes on supply and demand of the PV market to help you gain a competitive edge and stay ahead of the curve. InfoLink. Link the value for you.
Brace yourself for a remarkable 100% surge in the energy storage market this year. As businesses gear up, the global energy storage market is set to hit a remarkable milestone of 100 gigawatt-hours this year, intensifying industry competition. InfoLink Consulting releases the Global Lithium-Ion Battery Supply Chain Database, shedding light on the supply-demand dynamics of the global lithium-ion battery market. The database encompasses detailed statistics about cell manufacturing, including production capacity, output, and shipment volume of a wide range of manufacturers. You will also find data on NCA, NCM, LFP battery supply and demand, and price forecasts for lithium-ion battery. This is the essential tool for you to discern competitor movements and monitor the energy storage supply chain, as it includes overview and analysis of industry trends, serving as a crucial foundation for strategic planning, empowering businesses to make informed, data-driven decisions. InfoLink's industry survey covers manufacturers in China and South Korea, compiling production line information such as product type, cell format, application scenario, as well as production capacity. Monthly and quarterly output. Quarterly and monthly shipment is presented by application scenarios, including utility scale, CMI, and residential projects, illustrating a clearer picture of industry landscape. The Global Lithium-Ion Battery Supply Chain Database displays the supply-demand dynamics of energy storage cells, offers accurate price forecasts, assisting business in cost management and formulating procurement strategies to achieve cost efficiency. InfoLink Consulting. Link the value for you.
在迈向近零碳排的时代，InfoLink是一间能够让全球企业了解新能源产业竞争风貌的公司。
我们秉持着3个核心价值：诚实公正、情报至上，以及共建绿能世界，
持续在业界建立良好的名声以及厚实的竞争力，继续将InfoLink打造成全球新能源业界最领先的顾问公司。
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Ellie, Brand Manager of InfoLink. InfoLink is a leading provider of renewable energy research and consulting service. Today, we are presenting a look into the solar and energy storage industries, which have become increasingly competitive. As the markets continue to grow, technology are shifting, and the supply chains are changing. In the current competitive environment, how to manage risk and build a resilient and profitable future for your business is challenging. Our topic today is what awaits in 2024, and we will be hearing from 5 speakers on this subject. First, we will hear from Senior Analyst Dora Zhao, who will explore how the shifts in upstream supply and demand change the industry landscape. Then we will hear from Senior Analyst Amy Fang, who will discuss the price trends amid excess supply. Next, Analyst Alan Tu will share his insights of market demand and overseas expansion. In the second part of the webinar, we will hear from Senior Analyst Derek Zhao, who will present us the outlook for N-type cell technology. Finally, researcher Penny Liao will share her views on the supply and sale price trends in the energy storage market. After presentation, we will take some time for questions, which we have collected in advance. The presentation will now begin with our first speaker, Dora Zhao.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dora. Today, I'm delighted to share with you the supply and demand dynamics and market trends in the upstream sectors of the solar industry at InfoLink's annual webinar this year. And my presentation today is titled Upstream Sector, Supply and Demand Dynamics and the Industry Landscape in 2024. I will focus on the 3 parts below. First, the expansion of polysilicon supply, and second, the ingot production capacity and the demand of the wafer sector, especially the ingot segment. And the third, the supply and demand dynamics between the polysilicon sector and the wafer segment in 2024. Let's move to say the first part, the polysilicon supply. Actually, we all know in the past 2 to 3 years, in 2021 and 2022, the industry focused on the short-term supply and demand mismatch. And the polysilicon supply received the unknown attentions in the industry. And in 2022, the polysilicon production expansion began to speed up. The year-on-year growth of polysilicon production capacity was 72% in 2022 and will be 69% in 2023. It's meaning that the annual polysilicon production capacity will reach 2,100,000 metric tons by the end of this year. And in 2024, the growth will continue in next year, but at a slower pace, with a year-on-year increase at about 60%. This is to say, within the 3 years starting from 2022, the polysilicon sector will be able to maintain a year-on-year growth rate at least 60%. In the coming 2024, with such enormous capacity, even those leading manufacturers will be forced into the multidimensional competition in terms of the sales price, the production cost, and the product quality. And meanwhile, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 companies, including the new players to the industry, will find themselves under the profitability pressure. The polysilicon sector will face another round of challenges. And for the industry concentration of the polysilicon, actually, the concentration of the polysilicon sector is obstinately high. The leading manufacturers consolidated their stance with the early mover and the scale advantages. According to the statistics of InfoLink, by the end of this year, the top 5 companies in global polysilicon capacity will be Tongwei, JCL, Daquan, TBEA, and East Hope. And the top 5 will account for over 60% of the world's total production capacity for long will. Among them, the top 4 exhibit the most advantages in scale, the most management, cost management, and the product quality. However, the massive production capacity increases the likelihood of excess supply in 2024. Even leading manufacturers will have to engage in the fierce competition next year. And according to InfoLink's view of the different polytechnical method, both Siemens trunk and FBR granular polysilicon capacity are expanding in the same way. By the end of this year, the annual production capacity of granular polysilicon will approach 400,000 metric tons. It has showing a significant growth potential. However, the Siemens trunk will take up over 80% of the market share and is not likely to be surpassed by granular polysilicon in the short term. From a geographical perspective, China will continue to dominate the market share, but those leading companies like JCL, with TCL Zhonghuan, and Tongwei and Trina, they all have the plans for expansion in the Middle East, including the Saudi Arabia or UAE, during 2024 to 2027. Therefore, the polysilicon production expansion in non-China markets are still likely. And let's move to see the second part from the wafer capacity and the demand development. Now let's look at the wafer production capacity, specifically the ingot capacity, which has been increasing rapidly over the past 3 years. We have noticed the similar trend in ingot capacity and polysilicon capacity. Ingot capacity increased by 62% in 2022 and expected to sustain a growth rate above 61% to reach 1 kilowatt, which is 1,000 gigawatt by the end of this year. This considerable growth will slow down in 2024 to about 29%, marking the start of a phase of slow expansion. By the end of this year, the concentration among the leading manufacturers will achieve about 58%. That's a slight decrease compared to the previous years, but it's expected to stay above 50% in 2024. However, despite the concentration among the leading manufacturers, some of them are vertically integrated companies, and their wafers are not involved into the spot market, and which means those part of wafers cannot be considered into the wafer market supply chain, such as Jinko and the GA Solar. And in 2024, we will continue to see Longi and the TCL Zhonghuan being the major players in the market, followed by the faster growing new players, including Gaojin, Shuangliang, and Meike. As mentioned in the previous slide, there is a slight decrease in the concentration among the top 5 ingot manufacturers. Still, there is still a chance to maintain the concentration over 50%, and there will be a significant gap between the production capacity of the top 2 manufacturers and the tier 2 manufacturers. As of the end of this year, the top 5 ingot manufacturers will be Longi, TCL Zhonghuan, Jinko, GA Solar, and the new players Gaojin. However, since there are still rooms for the further production capacity increase from tier 2 manufacturers and other new players, like Shuangliang and Meike, also have the chance to make it to the top 5. Therefore, the ranking in 2024 is still subject to change. Additionally, it's worth mentioning that China is a vertically integrated leading module makers. It has been expanding the production with faster progress since 2022, even though it wasn't one of the first movers. It is expected to have at least 50 gigawatt of the ingot capacity by the early 2024. As a result, the top 4 module makers like LONGi, Jinko, GA, and Trina will become more self-sufficient in 2024. The ingot production expansion are still limited within China and will remain so far well, since the ingot production requires more electricity and a more difficult technical operation. Still, the Southeast Asia is a potential region for the ingot production expansion, mainly in vertically integrated module makers, but the progress is not impressive. Among other non-China markets, Europe may phase out its existing ingot capacities, while North America has some expansion plan with great potential. Still, it requires further observations in terms of the project implementation and the policy delivery. It is also worth noting that the wafer production comprises 2 crucial segments, ingot pulling and slicing, but the strategies of the production expansion of the 2 segments are very different. This is because, first, the slicing projects requires less initial investment and materialize faster. Second, the policy trajectory of the US in 2024 is still unclear. Once the restrictions on wafer extend to the slicing segment, there will be more significant growth in the slicing capacities in non-China market. Let's move to see the last part. We will to see the supply and demand developments in the upstream in 2024. So to conclude the upstream supply and demand dynamics in 2024, overall, we will see the polysilicon and the ingot production capacity reaching 1 kilowatt, namely 1,000 gigawatt. Of course, the cell and the module production capacity will exceed 1 kilowatt as well. And the supply and demand relationship between the polysilicon and the wafer sectors will be challenging. Well, the changes in the end user demand results in the excess supply across the industry. And the polysilicon sector itself will face several issues. First, the competition among the leading manufacturers new and old capacity in terms of the quality, energy consumption savings, and the cost optimization. The old capacity have a higher risk of replacement due to the higher production costs. And second, the competition between the leading manufacturers and the Tier 2 and Tier 3 peers, including the new entrants. This competition may involve the price wars with sales price lower than the production cost. The cash-trapped companies will face the risk of elimination. And third, for the N-type products gain the traction in module, cell, and wafer sectors next year and will take up a market share of over than 60% in the second half. And the polysilicon capacity being unable to meet N-type production's quality requirement will be the first to go. The rise of N-type challenges the ingot segment as well. The manufacturers will continue to grappling to strike a balance between the N-type wafer production output, the cost management, and the supply of quartz crucibles. Additionally, they can hardly raise the utilization rates. Selling wafer is their only way to go, and therefore they will focus on the making a customer strategies in 2024. Overall, Upstream sectors are gradually returning to a state of oversupply, but specifically, the products with good quality and lower price will maintain a competitive edge. For them, there won't be an oversupply. However, in the polysilicon sector, some manufacturers will undergo the challenges in terms of maintaining the utilization rates and the profitability. Coupled with this risk of capital chain rupture, some of them may find themselves stuck in a more passive position, even situations where they have no choice but to commission. Well, commissioning means losing money. And for the wafer sector, fluctuations in utilization rates will become an unavoidable issue in 2024. Other issues include the increasing complexities and the varieties of wafer sizes, along with the prevalence of the rectangular wafers and the gradual increase in the N-type wafer production. The non-vertically integrated wafer manufacturers will take the first blows. As a major contributor to the increase of wafers available on the spot market, they are advised to grasp the market rhythm and to find the best capacity allocation for products of different formats. Let's include Korean. The solar industry developed rapidly with the fast product acceleration and the technology advancement. Very challenging for all sectors across the supply chain as we enter a new industry circle in 2024. The manufacturers in the upstream must prepare themselves to put their core competence to the test and to the challenges. Okay, now, thanks for all your listening and the time today. See you next time.
Hello everyone, I'm Amy, Senior Solar Analyst in InfoLink Consulting. Today I'll be sharing with you price trend in the solar and module sector amid current oversupply situation. There will be 4 forecasts in today's presentation. The first part will focus on current oversupply, followed by a quick update on current solar cell and module production capacity in the second part. The third part will be cost analysis and price trends in China and abroad before I conclude my speech. Let's begin with the oversupply. The solar industry has experienced surplus several times in the past, as the year marked in red color. In 2012 and 2018, we saw a large number of manufacturers drop out. So what happened? In 2012, it was mainly the policy uncertainties in Europe and United States that affected the demand reduction. In 2018, China's 531 policy had profound impact on domestic demand. Both the time saw demand plunge, resulting in oversupply, leaving little profit margin for manufacturers across supply chain and squeezing them out. In effect, the nameplate capacity in 2020 has shown the sign of surplus, but production incident and in the upstream and supply chain fluctuation saved the industry from an oversupply. However, manufacturers became more aware of risk management and began expanding actively, integrating upstream and downstream business. In addition to that, and technology interaction, bullish demand attract capital inflows. Manufacturers released new capacity faster this year, finally resulting in the current oversupply. leading to issue of ineffective capacity and inventory accumulation, and ultimately causing an overprice decline. As we can see from this chart, both cell and module production capacity is expected to exceed 1,000 gigawatt by the end of this year. Therefore, the pressure will begin rippling to upstream sector, and all the four sectors won't be able to keep utilization rate as high as they used to do. Because of accelerated release of production capacity, the oversupply this time is more serious than previous one and will take more time to recover. We can use simple supply and demand ratio to dividing module production volume by demand. If the ratio greater than 1, it indicates the oversupply. If it is less than 1, and it represents the shortage. Now we can see the ratio are around 1 to 1.1 over the past few years. However, from 2021 onwards, the ratio began to rise, indicating that demand is increasing at a rate that production capacity failed to match. Currently, monthly module nameplate output can be beyond 60 gigawatt. We estimated next year annual module output to be around 700 to 720 gigawatt. With a supply-demand ratio of 1.4, it's meaning that the supply is 1.4 times than demand. Taking into account the slow recovery of demand next year and faster inventory depletion in the fourth quarter of this year, the oversupply will let up sometime during that first quarter and to the second quarter of 2024 at the earliest. Recovery across the supply chain will begin in the second half of next year, but we still have to keep an eye on progress of phasing out existing capacity. Now we will look at the cell and module production capacity. During the period from 2018 to 2020, the annual growth rate is relatively stable. But in 2020, thanks for the energy transition issue leading to module demand increase and the features such as imbalances in the supply chain, this result was changed manufacturer strategy with a significant capital inflow. The industry has been accelerating its growth year rate and its growth year by year, especially in 2023 with the additional feature of technological interaction. The expansion of capacity in downstream has been even more extraordinary than previous one. In the first quarter, the oversupply of both cell and module will start to intensify, and the financing condition became stricter in second half of this year. Fundamentally, it's all about the module demand. Although the demand is expected to increase next year, it may not to catch up with huge production capacity. In this concern, make manufacturer hesitate and assess expansion more carefully. Actually, we have seen new entries withdraw or postpone their production their expansion project. Prices will keep reaching new low level, leading to the phase out of all production line. However, several production capacity will added during 2022 and 2023, and will not be retired shortly. Maybe the inventory issue will persist as production capacity increases. During low season, the module inventory level is likely to equal more than 2 months of production. For the sales sector, we can discuss the capacity first. We have seen manufacturers choosing new technology in expansion this year. Still, we need to keep an eye on the existing PERC cell capacity. Many of these capacity are newer line. It just expansion during 2022 and 2023, which is substantially and may become a burden for manufacturers next year. Some small and medium-sized cell manufacturers still expand PERC cell line in this year. The reserve some for upgrade and modification in the future. However, there is considerable top line, and modified line will not compete with loss in turn production costs. Therefore, manufacturers currently focus on modifying just 1 or 2 lines. Maybe they will take a more creative approach next year. The overall progress is still not clear. And for the production situation, in this year, we saw the cell product remain the mainstream until the second half of this year, when the N-type product turned the tide with rapidly increasing production volumes and take market share away from PERC product in the third quarter. For this chart on the right, we can see the rapid expansion for TOPCon, and with heat junction and backhand type product experiencing growth as well. In the third quarter, the share of high efficiency cell is exceeding 30%, and we expect it reach nearly 50% in the fourth quarter. Overall, we think the high efficiency cell to account around 30% of total annual cell production output. It's meaning that the share of PERC cell decreased to around 70%. So that was cell. Now let's talk about the module. Expansion in the module sector are much faster than other sector. Mainly is because their technical translation issue is minor, and line modification take this time. Also, the module sector is the directly contact of the supply chain to end user. Therefore, many manufacturers in the upstream existing business go to the module sector in order to consume their own products. Module production capacity is set of original production plan and reach over 1,000 gigawatt in the third quarter. If we divide it by region, we can see in this chart, the module and the China still the major driving force behind this growth. It itself will have production capacity close to 1,000 gigawatt by the end of this year, after adding 480 gigawatt, which is a 90% year-on-year increase. And for the non-China region, expansion began in the second half of 2022. Our Estimation show the non-China module production capacity exceeding 200 gigawatt by the end of this year, with the United States, Southeast Asia, Turkey, India, and Europe posting the most increases. The production capacity of non-China market will continue to rise by 20 to 30%, with several projects scheduled to come in online during 2024 and 2025. Therefore, competition in the module sector will remain intense, and oversupply is not likely to end in the short term. As total supply demand overview, we can see how challenging it's gonna be for the solar industry next year. The third part, we will talk about the module prices and production costs. First, we will take a look at current gross margin. In this chart, present the production cost in different types of manufacturers and for the different module. And here we are basing the calculation on production cost in China. Currently, gross margin is only slightly higher than production cost. Manufacturers are primarily focused on maintaining their operation. However, manufacturers have found it is very difficult to keep operating. Given the current gross margin, they need the prices for TOPCon module must be sustained at least 14.4 cent US per watt to cover their costs and the three major expenses like management, sales, and research. If the price coming this level, the manufacturer they can get a profit. In the long run, the price will return to the ratio level because manufacturer will control their utilization rate and production costs. Therefore, I don't see price staying at the current low level for more than 6 months or 1 year. In the future, manufacturer will take more proactive approach in the risk management and to deal with the oversupply. Currently, after module makers cutting prices to secure order, the PERC module price coming at 11 to 30 cents US per watt, and TOPCon module is around 30 to 40 cents US per watt in the fourth quarter. Since the module maker already have small profit version, there will be a little room for further price decline in 2024, and pricing will stabilize and only fluctuation at a low level, likely at 10 to 30 cents US per watt for PERC module and 11 to 30 cents US per watt for TOPCon module. Need to pay attention to the long tail effect for the PERC module prices. Now we will look at the module pricing in a different regional market. This chart are the price which is tier 1 module maker and tier 2 and the non-China maker and developer their signing order. I want to discuss 2 key points in this chart. First, apart from the market with trade barriers, we see the price gap between China and non-China market narrowly in 2024 as price stayed relatively low level. Now the market is undergoing transition. TOPCon had begun has been gaining traction in most regions, and some didn't even take price quote for PERC module in the second half of 2024. For now, there is still 0.7 to 0.8 US cent per watt for the price gap between TOPCon and the PERC module. But we think this gap will narrowly even be the same price in the first half of next year as the TOPCon production increase. Overall, the prices for TOPCon module will vary among different markets next year, but generally their price will around 12 to 40 cents US per watt. In the second point I want to discuss is how development outside China is increasing importance. In this chart, we can see due to high manufacturing costs, module produced in non-China markets still more expensive than the China-made. Therefore, as the awareness of safeguarding local manufacturing rights, more protective measures are likely to be in place in some regional markets and consequently heighten the geopolitical risk. To conclude today's presentation, first of all, I believe this round oversupply is different from the past. This time is primarily the result of extra capacity release that lead to the oversupply. All sectors of the supply chain won't be able to maintain utilization rate as high as before. In the second, the supply chain, for the sales sector, the development of high efficiency product in 2024, and this year, high efficiency sale will take around nearly 30% of the total production output after rapid growth in the second half of this year. As for the expansion, manufacturing become casually due to the oversupply and severe financial condition. There is still uncertainty about the expansion plan in 2024. And the competition will remain intense and oversupply is not likely to end in the short term. As a result, the overall utilization rate of the module sector we think will remain a low level, and inventory accumulation will become a common issue in the future. Finally, from the cost from the cost side, manufacturers are primarily focused on maintaining their operation. Although the vertical integrate allow better cost management, but in the current oversupply issue has disrupted the price trend and resulting in nearly no differences between the gross margin of vertically integrated company and those who are not. So we encourage manufacturers to adopt co-opetition approach to control procurement flexibly. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Alan, a solar analyst from InfoLink. Today I would like to share with you guys the global module demand and overseas expansions in 2024. So in my today's slides, I've structured into 3 parts. First, an overview of the global module demand, what are the major markets and how the PV demand looks in the future. Then I will break down into regional market analysis and the overseas expansions. So let's start with the first part. We can first take a look at the global solar demand in this year. And before we start, the demand data I present today are all based on module demand, which is on the DC side and already converted into capacity ratio. In 2023, we can see that Chinese and Euro market has speed up fast and leading the solar industry to grow big. In China, because of the centralized generation project, province-wide promotion policies, and also Grand Mountain project led over from the last year, China's solar demand has reached 180 to 195 gigawatt in this year, almost double compared to the last. And then in Europe, due to the war between Russia and Ukraine, the energy price has risen up high, and the energy independent issue has become a real-time concern among countries these days. We can see solar demand in Europe leads and bounce in 2023, with around 30% increase and reach 90 to 100 gigawatt. So overall, the global solar demand is expected to be 412 to 455 gigawatt in this year, a 45% year-on-year increase. And the top 5 market is China, Europe, the United States, Brazil, and India. To forecast the next year, 2024, we believe that the solar demand will reach 472 to 537 gigawatt, with top 5 market remain the same. The solar industry is still growing, and we believe that it will continue in the future. So in this page shows the data of Chinese cell and module export to each market. The gray color in the background is the data of 2022, and the one with color is 2023. So we can see the export data in this year has increased dramatically. From January to October, the export data shows a 34% increase, and the biggest regional market, of course, is Europe. So a little background here is that normally the export data has an up and down season. First, in the first quarter, it's usually when the export volumes start to ramp up. The China manufacturers are just back from the Chinese holiday. Utilization rate and production start to recover, and overseas market are also beginning their installation construction starting a year. In the second and third quarter, it's usually the hot season, strengthening importing solar cell and module for local usage. While in the fourth quarter, the winter season comes with snow frozen on the ground. It is really hard for a project to install, and workers have their holiday start. The solar demand start to shrink. However, in this year, the story does not go with the history. You can see because of the high inventory level in the overseas market, especially in Europe, the export data has decreased dramatically. The export volume decreased early in July. As our estimate, there's around 40 to 45 gigawatt of module inventory in European market. And then will be the second part, the regional market demand analysis in 2024. First, we can take a look at the Asian market. When we talk about Asian market, there's no doubt to mention the biggest market, China. The Chinese market is primarily driven by the net zero target and national policies. At the end of October, there's around 143 gigawatt of capacity installed, a 145% year-on-year increase, a number that people wouldn't imagine in the past few years. In 2024, with the local policy continue, we believe the number will continue growing and even reach 200 gigawatt in a single year. However, in this market, we start to face difficulties and issues in this year. Grid congestion and the land permission is two major problems. During the past few years, the installation number has increased fast. The investment of the grid connection does not catch up with the demand. We believe the grid congestion issue may eventually cool down the distribution generation market in 2024. So the question pops up, is the national grid system capacity enough for all solar projects in 2024? Will the government on hold the project because of the solar energy curtailment going up? This is the problem in the Chinese market. In India, as a basic custom duty came online, the demand weakened in the year and onward. From January to October, only 9 gigawatt of new capacity was installed, And currently, the market is still dealing with the balance of the market demand and to protect the local manufacturers. We expect until most of the local expansion plan came online, the Indian market will still face the challenge of basic customs duty, which limit the import number. While then will be the Europe, similar to the United States, continue to embrace the low price while showing a high acceptance of new product. For example, in the past, like Topcon heater junction and backcounter technology were first introduced into the world, it is European market ahead in product promotion, while in Chinese market, this kind of technology didn't really prevail in the past. In recent days, the Euro market has been a crucial battleground for manufacturers competing for their market share, especially when the Chinese market faced severe oversupply. Since the lack of protective measure, the European market heavily relied on the Chinese product, making it the second largest consumer market in the world. The market is still facing the challenge of cheap product from China, and the local manufacturers are struggling to compete. Even recently, the European unit keep working on the local protective measures and policies, including tariff and local production subsidies. We still believe that the action like tariff are difficult to realize because of the concern about the impact on local module demand. In the end, after all these concerns, we believe that the solar demand in this market in Europe will continue to grow, but will grow stably, with around 113 to 129 gigawatt of module demand will be newly added in 2024. And then will be Germany, is the largest market in the European market. The government has clear regulations for the long run. We plan to achieve accumulate installed capacity of 215 gigawatt by 2030. Germany consistently meet the ambition targets set by the government year after year, making it a crucial market among Europe. Of course, many European markets are also attributed to the strong demand for solar industry. So for example, the Netherlands, Spain, Poland, and maybe Greece, and other countries as well. However, the labor shortage, financial difficulties, and the high inventory level are all affecting and will challenge the market demand. So the main concern here in Europe is how well will a high inventory level really affect the market? Will the growing inventory number severely impact the local demand, or will the inventory become a new norm these days? The potential for further growth in the local manufacturing capacity will depend on whether the tariff and incentive policy in the Europe will come into effect or not. If the government decides to impose the tariff, how much % of the tariff can do the job of protecting the domestic manufacturers, the domestic industry, without causing a significant decline in the module demand? Does the European authorities have enough financial ability to establish the subsidies? Those are some crucial points that we have to think of in European market. Next, let's turn our side to the Americas. Of course, the United States had the most attention. You can see the significant growth in this year. In the first half of the year, the United States installed nearly 12 gigawatt of the new capacity, marking a 36% year-on-year increase. And recently, because of the anti-circumvention tariff came into effect, the Tier 2, Tier 3 manufacturers, Tier 2, Tier 3 factories in Southeast Asia has begun stocking up on the inventory in the United States market. And therefore, the inventory level in distribution market rise up and the price decline rapidly. With the IRA subsidies in place, we believe the domestic manufacturing capacity will experience significant growth around 2024 and 2025. For companies planning to establish production line in this market, the major concern lies in whether they can secure long-term and stable IRA subsidies. The risk of ending the subsidies due to the change in political parties may affect their investment return. And policies like UFLPA, anti-circumvention tariff, Canadian NEM 3.0, and even the extent of CBP restriction on solar products all pose a risk to the local United States market and the demand. And then will be the Brazil. Brazil is the second largest market in America, has imposed nearly 16 gigawatts of module product as of October, and account for 65% of the total volume allowed in America. The Brazil solar demand has seen significant growth in recent years. That is not only because of this abundant sunlight, but also because of policies that are attracting the project to install. However, with the new grid fee coming into effect and the postponed and the post of the providing discount on the transaction fee for the centralized generation project, these kind of policies have really affected the market. So we believe that in the coming years, the Brazil solar market will decrease. In 2024, there will be around 25% decline compared to 2023. And also, there's a rumor to reimpose the tariff in this local market, adding the pessimistic outlook for the Brazil solar industry. In other regions of the Americas, there remains high potential for the solar development. But the challenge, such as the funding and the insufficient grid construction, are something we have to wait and see until they have solved. So finally, let's look at the Middle East and Africa. Middle East and Africa has just begun to see the solar market increasing. With abundant sunlight, land resources, and relatively spare populations, countries in the Middle East and Africa has begun to increase their market size. Turkey, the UAE, the Saudi Arabia are the forefront of the solar development in the Middle East, while South Africa leads the way in the African market. So for those countries, government tenders have become instrumental factors in driving the growth of this market. And the long-term outlook for the solar demand in the Middle East and Africa appears promising. The demand is expected to be 24 to 27 gigawatt in the Middle East and 9 to 10 gigawatt in Africa in the year of 2024. So let's jump to the last part, maybe the part that people interest the most, overseas expansions. So first of all, in this picture, I put the 15 module manufacturers who have their capacity overseas here. We can find out that the manufacturers with a certain scale are already planning overseas expansions in 2024. And an interesting part is that you can see most of the tier 1 Chinese manufacturers, companies who have expanded their capacity in Southeast Asia before are now switching toward the United States. So for example, like LONGi, Canadian Solar, Runergy, Trina, JA, they are all switching from the Southeast Asia into United States. And in contrast, the non-China companies are expanding toward their own target market. For example, Indian companies like Adani and Waris are mostly expand production in India. And some companies like First Solar and Hanwha Qcell have their diversified strategies. We believe that like this kind of company is spending not only into one single country, but also with 2 or 3 or even 3 countries will demonstrate their advantage in avoiding the policy risk in the future. So in the next slides, let's have a broader perspective and take a look at the expansion plan all over the world. So firstly, you can see that the countries with colored area on the world map are those expected to have the local production hopes in the end of 2025. Some of them expand production to provide for the local demand, while others seek to export products to other countries. So let's start by looking at the orange part. So the orange part, those countries are expanding to meet their own demand. Besides China, you can see United States and India have been and will remain the two major solar manufacturing hubs. And like Turkey and South Korea and European market, they are all also catching up. So in the blue area, these are the countries where manufacturers are expanding for various reasons. For Saudi Arabia and the UAE, the Southeast Asia all have the more than half of their capacity for non-local use. Most of them export to the United States. So maybe you will be familiar with the trade war between China and the United States. Since then, the Chinese investments start to move toward the Southeast Asia. So you can see here we break down into each country. And providing the production settlements has formed there. As the manufacturing ecosystem mature enough, the manufacturers from other countries also join and enter to set out the production site in the Southeast Asia. However, recently, because of the capacity enough, the expansion has slowed down in Southeast Asia, and mainly the new expansion plan are for the wafer sector. And then will be Saudi Arabia. The expansion in Saudi Arabia along with the border UAE is primarily focused on the upstream polysilicon and wafer sector. Since it is hard for the Chinese polysilicon to enter United States market, the manufacturers have come up with a new place to settle themselves in, and that is the Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Both aim to import into the United States market. So before I talk about the United States and India, we can first take a look at the Turkey. While Turkey has the manufacturing capacity is primarily for the module sector, rely on procuring solar cell from China. The expansion target market beside their own domestic market, Turkey, are also toward to the European market and other region. And then in the United States and in India market, those most of you are familiar with, due to the local government subsidies and policy favor, as the domestic demand continue to grow, many manufacturers have expanded the production line in these two countries. So for those countries, we can find out the similar part is that because of the uncertainties, most of the manufacturers begin to set up the module production line overseas. And since the module sector is the earliest, is the easiest part to enter compared to other three sectors. And we believe that the polysilicon, wafer, and cell sector, if the manufacturer announced to set out the factory, it will be relatively hard to realize and make it much more longer time than people expected. There are many more in-depth discussion that can be explored during this topic. Many important topics, but for not enough time. So allow me to stop here. After all, it can be concluded that in the United States, subsidies and market potential have led the manufacturers to come and compete for a market share of this market. And beside the United States, India and the European market are also in developed status to make the ecosystem favorable for the outsider to join the market. In the end, let's conclude today's discussion. While in the past, manufacturers gradually expand their overseas sales channel to profit. However, facing the oversupply in China and the world, the module price premium of Chinese export has significantly decreased. Also, driven by local incentive policies, they are now starting to expand the production outside China. With production subsidies and the higher price for homemade modules, manufacturers can obtain higher return. The trend for manufacturers to expand overseas is a must. In the long run, they may even face the carbon taxes, including CBAM in Europe and CCA in the United States. This product outside of China may receive better score and higher prices. However, expanding production is a comprehensive and challenging decision. It is essential to consider many risks. including implicit costs associated with expansion, geopolitical risk, changes in the external environment, and even the individual condition of each manufacturer can affect the decision. InfoLink Consulting has kept assisting companies all over the world in making strategic plans for the overseas expansion. We have noticed that among these leading enterprises, in addition to their in-house analyst team, many companies have outsourced various consultants, like us, to help them discern the future market landscape. In the end, they have successful in establishing local production supply chain in markets such as Southeast Asia and the United States. Only after reconsidering the whole picture can the decision be deemed successful. This is my presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Derek Zhao from InfoLink Consulting. Today, I will present the technology outlook 2024 regarding N-type high-efficiency cells, hoping it will give you a better understanding of the future technology trends. My report will include 5 parts. Firstly, I will introduce the rapid development of N-type technology. Next, I will give a detailed overview of the current developments and trends of TOPCon, junction, and BC. Finally, I will show you the estimated market share by technology in 2024 and the near future. Okay, now let's have a look on the rapid development of N-type technology. As power efficiency has reached its bottleneck, N-type technology expansion accelerated in 2023. As of November, TOPCon capacity expansion announcements have reached more than 1,700 gigawatts. Meanwhile, the junction and the BC expansion announcements also came in at 423 gigawatts and 159 gigawatts respectively. However, there are only around 500 gigawatts of existing POC now in the market. Amid the technological shift, N-type is not only favored by existing solar manufacturers but also new entrants from other industries. InfoLink's calculation shows that TOPCon capacity may exceed 600 gigawatts by the end of this year, while heat junction and BC capacity could hit 15.6 gigawatts and 14.4 gigawatts respectively. This means that new N-type cell capacity will overtake POC in 2024 with its advantages not only in performance but also capacity, then accelerating the transition from POC to the N-type technology. To track the transition from P-type to N-type, we have calculated the monthly demand for P and N-type wafer. This graph shows that newly built N-type cell capacity has yet to come online in the first half of the year, so the share of N-type wafer remains at around 15%. In the second half, as the new N-type capacity started to come online continuously, demand for which also increased rapidly. As of September, we can see that P-type production started to decline while N-type production has been on the rise. In November, the share of N-type wafer will increase to around 39% and likely to surpass 15% in Q1 next year. Next, we'll look at the current status and prospects of N-type TOPCon, junction, and BC technology. TOPCon, in particular, has become the next generation technology after POC with its rapidly growing capacity. The graph here shows the current capacity on construction and planning capacity of each manufacturers. We also can lecture the mass production efficiency and the annual rate data of some manufacturers. First, TOPCon capacity announcements have surpassed 1,700 gigawatts as of November. And as of Q3 this year, more than 440 GW of TOPCon capacity has completed construction. There will be more than 117 GW of TOPCon coming online in Q4, meaning that TOPCon capacity will exceed 600 GW at the end of this year. In terms of module shipment, TOPCon module shipment stood at around 29 GW in the first half, but as new TOPCon capacity came online continuously in the second half, more than 16 GW of TOPCon modules have been shipped as of Q3. It's expected that total TOPCon module shipment will come in at around 110 GW this year. Regarding cell efficiency, while many manufacturers claim to reach more than 25.5%, the actual cell efficiency hovers at around 24.5%, but that is still about 1.4% higher than POC. As for yield rates, the performance is lower before capacity completed scale up. After that, mainstream manufacturers can bring yield rate in mass production to 95 to 98%, although there is still a gap of about 1% between POC. Such gap will be narrowed in the future when process flow is improved. To better track TOPCon capacity growth trends, we divide TOPCon manufacturers into three types, which are vertically integrated, partially integrated, and non-integrated companies, depending on whether they have wafer capacity and whether in-house wafer capacity can fulfill their own demand. The left graph shows that the share of TOPCon capacity of non-integrated companies was still low in 2022, but as more capacity came online, their share also increased and has stepped above 55% from Q2 this year. This means that some non-integrated companies have to rely on OEM or other sourcing wafers in 2024. Moreover, given cell capacity will become extreme supplies next year, how to sustain TOPCon capacity utilization rate will become the biggest challenge for non-integrated companies. Although we expect the nameplate TOPCon capacity to surpass 600 GW this year, more than 115 GW of TOPCon capacity will come online in 2024 as well. As of November, our calculation shows that more than 715 GW of TOPCon projects have completed equipment procurement. Looking at equipment selection, around 49% of the TOPCon choose PE router, while 47% choose LP router, only 4% choose PVD router. Some manufacturers such as JA Solar and Astron Energy even choose LP and P routers at the same time. So why does TOPCon develop so fast? That's because TOPCon has better product performance and better overall profitability than POC. The left graph shows our simulation for how TOPCon and POCers cost from wafer to module of vertically integrated companies change along with polysilicon price. Although TOPCon has higher requirements on polysilicon than POC, TOPCon, with its advantage in thinner wafers and high efficiency, has brought down its overall costs to lower than POC, even on the condition of high polysilicon price. Given polysilicon prices are lower now, the advantage of thinner wafers is weakened, so TOPCon's overall costs are around 2 to 3 RMB cents per watt higher than POC. But given TOPCon has a price premium of 5 to 7 RMB cents per watt than POC, the overall profitability of TOPCon is still better than POC. Moreover, if manufacturers choose to outsource wafers, TOPCon can generate higher gross profits than POC as well. based on the current price for P-type and N-type wafers, as well as TOPCon and POC modules. The rapidly growing TOPCon technology highlights the slow development of heat junction. Having said that, heat junction prospect was anticipating as it appears rapid cost reduction from the second half of this year. The graph here shows the current capacity on construction, and the planning capacity of each manufacturers. We also collect the mass production efficiency data of some manufacturers. First, the junction capacity announcements have reached 423 GW as of November. As of Q3, around 13.5 GW of junction has come online. Junction capacity is expected to surpass 15 GW by the end of this year. Among all of these manufacturers, Hwaseong added the most junction capacity, potentially reaching around 20 GW at the end of this year. Let's look at module shipment. Last year's global junction module shipment stood at 2.8 GW. This year, the figure is likely to reach around 8 GW and hit 20 to 25 GW in 2024. In terms of efficiency, the junction cells recorded the highest efficiency at 26.81%, and the mass production efficiency is basically within the range of 25 to 25.5%. In addition, we would like to emphasize that although TOPCon cells are claimed to have higher efficiency than heat junction, the actual mass-produced efficiency of the junction is still around 0.1 to 0.2% higher than that of TOPCon. So, what's the reason behind the slow development of the junction in recent years? The major cause is the high metallization costs, which I will show you in detail. As I mentioned, the biggest challenge facing the junction now is the high metallization costs. In our quarterly new technology market report, we track and calculate the silver paste consumption of major manufacturers and present these changes with graphs. As you can see in the box plots, the upper and lower value represent the highest and lowest silver paste consumption for each technology quarter by quarter. You can see from this graph that the junction's silver paste consumption is much higher than that of POC and TOPCon, because the junction use low temperature process, and so it's more difficult to reduce the paste consumption. As we can see from the chart in the past 1 year, although the silver paste consumption of POC has continued to decline, the decline has been very small. TOPCon's silver paste consumption has not decreased in the short term, as most of TOPCon capacity is on the scaling up phase in this year. The junction, on the other hand, saw higher degree of decrease in silver paste consumption each quarter, despite its overall high silver paste consumption. In Q3, leading heat junction manufacturers have managed to cut down silver paste consumption to around 16 micrograms per watt. Meanwhile, silver copper paste is moving toward mass production, which is also an evidence of rapid improvement in heat junction. Here is a comparison of metallization costs between technologies. Given POC is quite mature, its silver paste costs and screen print costs total around 5 RMB cents per watt, while that of TOPCon is around 8 RMB cents. Previously, the junction's silver paste consumption per watt was higher, while screen lifetime was shorter, so the costs total around 13 RMB cents per watt. However, leading manufacturers have achieved around 60 micrograms per watt of silver paste consumption in mass production. Coupled with improved screen lifetime, the junction's metallization costs have been reduced to around 11 RMB cents per watt. Moreover, leading manufacturers use silver copper paste for fingers, allowing metallization costs of the junction to sit below 9 RMB cents per watt, which is already very close to the metallization costs of TOPCon. Besides, some junction makers has introduced 0BB technology combined with silver copper paste. In mass production, then the metallization cost of the junction can be comparable with that of TOPCon. In the future, with the decline of the price of silver copper paste and the decrease of the consumption of paste, the metallization cost of the junction is expected to be close to pork. While the junction's metallization costs have reduced markedly, the junctions still incur higher equipment investment and TCO target costs in the cell segment. On the current material price, we estimate the costs from wafer to module based on different technologies and use pork as a benchmark. We found that TOPCon is only 2.7 RMB cents per watt higher than pork, but the overall cost of regular junction makers is around 15 RMB cents per watt higher than pork. As leading junction makers have achieved more metallization cost reduction, the overall cost is around 10 RMB cents per watt higher than pork, but their module costs also increase due to the use of UV phototransfer encapsulant film for higher efficiency. On the other hand, 0BB and silver copper paste combination can help the junction to further reduce the cost, which is only around 8 RMB cents per watt higher than pork. Of all segments, the cell segment saw higher cost reduction, whereas module segment saw costs rising due to the use of special encapsulant film. If we use TOPCon as the benchmark, leading companies' junction costs would be around 7 RMB cents per watt higher than TOPCon, while 0BB and silver copper paste combination can bring the junction's overall costs to less than 6 RMB cents per watt higher than TOPCon. It's worth noting that the supply and demand of G12 wafers become imbalanced recently, resulting in higher price of G12 wafer, and thus the advantage of thinner junction wafer did not show in the cost simulation. In reality, 0BB plus silver copper paste plus 110 micrometers thick wafers can bring the cost difference between junction and TOPCon to be less than 5 RMB cents per watt. This year, we are witnessing N-type technologies' rapid development. Meanwhile, BC technology emerges with its advantage in efficiency and aesthetics as well. The major drivers behind BC technology development are LONGi and ECO. LONGi has built 33 GW of HPBC capacity and entered mass production as well. It has also achieved an efficiency of 25.4% and more than 90% of yield rate. HPBC currently use P-type wafers, and LONGi will use N-type wafers for the upcoming HPBC Pro to achieve high efficiency. In terms of ECO's ABC, its 6.5 GW cell capacity has run at full capacity, while another 15 GW of equipment is moving in its EU plant, 3 GW of which is expected to complete debugging this year. ABC cell efficiency has reached around 26.5%, which is the highest among crystalline cell technologies on the market. The newly built ABC capacity will use screen printing in replacement of copper electroplating. As LONGi and ECO's BC capacity came online in the second half, DC module shipments are expected to reach around 10 gigawatts this year and came in at around 25 gigawatts next year. One of the selling points of DC technology is its aesthetics, but the main advantage is its high efficiency. The table shows that based on the same module layout of 2278 times 1134, only ABC modules achieves more than 600 watts of power output, and the mainstream level even reach 605 to 615 watts. Moreover, both Longis HPBC and Echo's ABC shows significant advantage in module efficiency. The higher power output of BC technique will help increase its market penetration. Finally, I will share with you the market share of TOPCon, Junction, and BC in 2024 and beyond. First, the rapidly growing TOPCon is for sure the next mainstream cell technology after POC. Its market share is expected to sit at around 24% this year, and it will overtake POC products at a faster pace next year, with its market share reaching 16 to 65%. In terms of heat junction, although its overall costs still have a gap between TOPCon, its rapid metallization cost reduction, higher power output, and low carbon ledge will help it gain market share. Its shipment is likely to reach 20 to 25 gigawatts next year, accounting for around 5% of market share. While BC has a higher technical threshold, its capacity are mainly held by leading companies. So, as capacity continues to grow, its market share is likely to reach around 5% in 2024 as well. But its development also depends on whether yield rate could be quickly improved. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your listening.
Hello everyone, I am Penny Liao, energy storage researcher at InfoLink. Today, I would like to focus on the topic of localizing energy storage cell and global price trend and oversupply. First, we will provide an overview of importance of cell for energy storage system and the current supply-demand dynamic for cell across the globe. Next, we will discuss the impact of localization policies on cell supply, and finally, we will explore how oversupply and localization will influence future trends in ESS supply, demand, and pricing. So first, let's look at global cell supply and demand situation. The reason for understanding the supply and demand for energy storage cell is that cell account for 60 or even 70% of the cost of energy storage system, which matters a lot to energy storage system and is key factor in determining loss cost. In recent years, with the rising demand for energy storage, the surge in demand for EV has also played a crucial role. As seen in the graph on the right, EVs constitute about 80 to 90% of lithium battery demand. A sudden rise in EV demand in 2022 led to a shortage of upstream material for battery production, resulting in a rapid increase in battery price last year. As shown in the line on the right, the average price of lithium battery increased from $95 per kilowatt hour in 2021 to an average of $132 per kilowatt hour in 2022. However, prices have since decreased to around $80 per kilowatt hour this year. From this graph, we observe that battery prices are not only related to energy storage, but also closely tied to EV market. However, after 2023, battery prices won't be as much influenced by the EV market for the active expansion of battery production capacity in recent years. So in the next chart, we combine the global cell production capacity and demand and find that theoretically there is ample supply of energy storage cells from the past to the present. However, if we take a closer look at the top manufacturers' supply, we will find that leading manufacturers such as CATL, BYD, and EV Energy are all in China. On this page, we separate that locally produced cells in China for those produced outside of China. And we can see that China's lithium battery production capacity has been sufficient to meet its domestic demand, especially after 2022, when the top two manufacturers alone can almost meet for all requirements. However, the chart on the right shows us that there is a shortage on cells produced outside of China, and this will continue at least 2025. Even after 2025, it is just barely self-sufficient. A tight balance is expected to remain until 2030. In other words, currently, over 70% of global lithium battery production capacity is located in China. And even though the global cell production capacity seems to be quite abundant until 2025, non-China markets are actually relying on Chinese cell exports. And next, let's see the impact of localization acts on cell supply. To address this issue of insufficient domestic supply of cell and simultaneously increase domestic employment opportunities, President Biden's Department of Energy proposed the National Blueprint for Lithium Battery in 2021. Subsequently, in August 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed to expand subsidy for energy storage systems. In the past, incentives for energy storage were only given to residential and commercial solar plus storage systems. And now, subsidies has been extended to standalone energy storage systems that simply assist the electric grid. So as the graph shown below, the average sale price of cell production in China this year is approximately $79 per kilowatt hour. They are sold to the United States at the $94 per kilowatt hour. The cost of local production in the US is higher, around $124 per kilowatt hour. But after deducting subsidies, producing cells in the US becomes cheaper than the price of cell, which manufactures in China and sold to the United States. Factoring in the additional subsidy of $35 per kilowatt hour, the cost of local production in the US is approximately $89 per kilowatt hour. As for energy storage systems, the cost of local production in the United States is about $184 per kilowatt hour, but with 30% investment tax credit, it becomes $129 per kilowatt hour, also lower than the prices of China-produced energy storage system imported to the US. Furthermore, Europe has also enacted battery regulation, which requires batteries sold out to Europe to meet recycling and raw material regulation. This is not only increases the trade barrier for lithium battery, but also imposes higher quality standard on batteries, which elevate the localization of lithium battery production to strategy level. And both of the policies indicates that proactive effort of the United States and Europe to shore up local cell sector. The policy published by US and Europe has accelerated the development of their local cell production. As shown in the table, many major cells manufacturers from China have announced plans to set up battery plants outside of China. They are estimated to add up more than 550 gigawatt-hour for cell production capacity during 2023 and 2025, with about 344 gigawatt-hour being in the United States and Europe. After the capacity released by other non-China manufacturers, it is projected that regions outside of China will accumulate over 550 gigawatt-hour for additional lithium battery capacity by 2025. And here, let's take a closer look at lithium battery production capacity and the demand in the US and the Europe separately. The left chart shows the majority battery supplier in the US include Tesla, LG Energy Solution, SK Innovation, and Samsung SDI right now. An evident cell shortage will persist in the US until 2025. After 2025, when cell manufacturers will have a complete expansion, the market share of Chinese companies entering the US will increase. As for the right chart, depicts the supply-demand dynamic of lithium battery in Europe. Similar to the United States, before 2025, local lithium battery production capacity in Europe will be completely insufficient to meet domestic demand. But after 2025, the local lithium cell supply situation will gradually ease but still remain a tight balance. And Europe tries to show up the local production with the new battery regulation and the Net Zero Industry Act, but the stimulus is comparatively smaller than the IRA subsidy in the US. Therefore, while lithium battery export from China retain high cost competitive, European players face significant competitive pressure on the cost curve against Chinese competitors. The local market is expected to help absorb some of the excess Chinese production capacity. And next, let's see the global energy storage cell supply and demand. So we've known that while US and Europe cannot fully provide for their domestic cell demand, the global cell production capacity is much higher than demand. If we look into the shipment of this energy storage cell, we will find that over 90% of them originate from China. The top two manufacturers dominate nearly half of the energy storage cell market. Notably, China not only accounts for most energy storage cell in the shipment, but also have the highest share of global installed energy storage capacity for over 40%, followed by the United States with 25% and Europe with 70%. So combining global energy storage cell supply and demand in 2022, we can see that the world shipped approximately 123 gigawatt-hour of energy storage cells, but the actual energy storage installation was only 44 gigawatt-hour. And in this year, InfoLink expects the world to ship more than 200 gigawatt-hour energy storage with the installation of around 100 gigawatt-hour. From the bar chart, we can observe significantly gap between annual energy storage cell shipment and installation every year. This is mainly due to 4 reasons. So first, this is because the majority of global energy storage demand comes from utility scale energy storage, which takes 6 to more than 1 year for installation, and therefore cell shipment each year will generally be installed in the following years. And second, off-grid installation, such as those in South Africa or factors using energy storage as backup power, are challenging to check as they are not connected to the grid. So this may lead to the underestimation of installation. And the third reason is the gap between nameplate capacity and actual installation. Especially for those energy storage facility participating in auxiliary service, it is a common practice for developers to install 5 to 20% more energy storage battery than the actual capacity to meet operational standards. This may result in a gap between actual installed capacity and the capacity reported. Lastly, there are some minor factors such as losses and replacement during installation process may also contribute to the disparity. So all of the 4 factors could contribute to the significant gap between energy storage cell shipment and the installation. We believe in the future, with the standardization of installation process, the cell shipment volume and installation in the same year will increasingly consistent, and the divergence between shipment and installation is expected to narrow over time. We've talked about global supply and demand of lithium battery and energy storage cell. Now, let's delve deeper into the future development of cell utilization rate and price trend. As illustrated on the chart on the left side, the globe cell production capacity far exceeds demand, with EV use cells accounting for over 75%. In the future, the production capacity of energy storage cell will increase due to faster development of energy storage industry. This year, an overall utilization rate of globe cell supply chain is approximately 43%. In the future of overcapacity, end user will have higher standard of product quality, which elevate the barrier to entry new cell manufacturers. Therefore, in 2022 and 2023, these are two crucial years for cell manufacturers to debottleneck and establish their position in the industry. With the elimination of some inefficient capacity in the future, the capacity utilization rate of cell is expected to increase. As for price trend, the competition in this Chinese energy storage market has intensified this year. In Q3, the average price of 280 ampere energy storage cell decreased by 41% compared to Q1, averaging at around 0.45 Chinese yuan per watt hour. But by the end of October, some manufacturers even quoted price as low as 0.4 Chinese yuan per watt hour for bulk orders to clear the inventory. In terms of energy storage system, in Q3, the average winning bid price for 2-hour AC side energy storage system decreased by 22% compared to Q1, with prices reaching 0.94 Chinese yuan per watt hour in October. As the China wields strong influence over shipment and demand in energy storage industry, the price trend in China is an indicator for the global market. Although the United States and Europe are less price sensitive than China, the two markets have also seen significant declines in prices for energy storage cell and system over the past 6 months. Currently, the FOB price of DC-coupled utility scale energy storage has reached $150 per watt hour, a 40% year-on-year decrease from $250 per kilowatt hour, with more Chinese companies expanding their presence in the United States. The local market is expected to achieve greater supply stabilizing price at or below $150 per watt hour in the future. So, in conclusion, from a global perspective, the lithium battery market is experiencing an oversupply. The United States and Europe have shown clear intention to localize the cell production and wean themselves off Chinese import. Although within the short term of 2 or 3 years, it remains challenging to completely break free from dependence on Chinese battery cell supply. The earliest projection for United States to achieve self-sufficiency in battery cell is after 2025. In the meantime, Europe will continue to absorb excess production capacity from China. With prices already declining this year, the cell industry will also see buyers gaining stronger bargaining power in the future, turning the market into a buyer's market. And China, as the major source of both cell supply and demand, will also continue to serve as the bellwether of global energy storage industry in terms of technology roadmap, as well as future price trends. So here's my speech. If you are interested in learning more about ESS battery cell supply chain, feel free to contact InfoLink. We can provide you with an additional information on energy storage, lithium battery, and the ESS industry. We also have detailed reports specifically tailored to the Taiwan energy storage market. So please don't hesitate to get in touch at any time.
Thank you, Penny. We will now begin our Q&A section, and we have got 5 panelists today to answer your questions, which are Dora, Amy, Derek, Alan, and Penny. We have received many questions about the 2 industries, but due to the given time, we have prioritized the most relevant questions for our panelists, and we will do our best to cover these questions. Now, let's kick off our Q&A. I'm sure many of you have the same questions about polysilicon price trends. So I will start with one of the most asked questions for Dora. As we know, polysilicon prices have been falling, and from your view, how low the prices may reach?
Okay, thanks for this question, and thank you for Eddie. Actually, that's really a hard question. Yes, we all focus on the polysilicon price in the past 2 and 3 years. And from our point of view, we think the price of polysilicon should be much lower than the lowest price range in the historical range. That means in the next year, in the coming 2024, the lowest price range should be below 60 yuan, including tax, per kilogram in the next year. That's our point. Thank you.
Thank you, Dora. Now we have some insights of the price movement in the upstream. Let's dive into the downstream sector. We will have Amy to answer the 2 questions about module markets for us. The first question is why there's a decrease in premiums for non-China modules.
Thank you, Ellie. This will be the interesting situation and may become more ups than next year. I think there have 2 factors cause this situation. One is for the manufacturing cost. We can calculate about it in a simple term with companies like which they have wafer to module. The cost of TOPCon module made in China could around 30 cents per watt. Another factor is there's oversupply and fierce competition. The price for this module may stay low level next year. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Amy. So judging by your answer, is it possible for solar module markets to crash?
I think this is everyone in this industry may pay attention for this topic. And yes, I think the possibility exists due to the oversupply issue. But this is not a new issue in this industry. And it already happened twice in the past 10 years. So currently the module price at a low level and the damage to the gross profit is already occurred, especially during the low season, in a demand low season. So it's highly likely that the situation will become even more challenging in the first half of next year. But just like the past, I think the industry still had a way to survive this crisis. And at this stage, the industry requires restructuring with focus on the phase out of production line and maintain high quality capacity. This is the key to getting the industry come back to the normal level. So this is my answer.
Thank you, Amy. As we learn that manufacturers are actively expanding overseas, we have selected some questions about market conditions outside of China. The first question is a problem concerned by many participants. Alan, do you think China's export restrictions on manufacturing equipment will affect overseas expansion?
Okay, thank you, Ellie. For this question, yes, we believe that because currently most of the equipment supplier are from China, and if the Chinese government bans the export of the equipment to other countries, some of the expansion plan might be unable to materialize in the end. So I guess people are asking is that recently there has been a rumor about the Chinese government prohibiting the equipment export to India. While the news is correct, and however, it is not a final call for the government, and there is no public document yet. And for the current equipment supplier, they were still free to ship their equipment to production sites.
Thank you. So, apart from China, are there any other non-China markets that we should pay attention to in 2024?
For these questions, yes. In the previous slides, I mentioned there are many countries that are very have a bright future, and of course, besides the country that I mentioned, in Asia, for example, Pakistan is one, and in South America, Chile and Mexico, they have both great potential, and in UAE and Israel, in Middle East, we think that there's also a continue to grow market. And also in Egypt, in Africa, is also a promising market. So for those countries, most of them, there's one thing that we have to consider is that although they have great environment for solar project, but the loading capacity of the power grid and also the project financing are something that people there are still facing and dealing with. But still, those are definitely some countries that we should pay attention in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. After learning about the market side, let's turn to technology trends, which is another topic that receives many discussions. We will have Derek to answer these questions for us. The first question is about the highly discussed TACOM technology, whose capacity has been growing rapidly this year. So, Derek, in the TACOM market, LPCVD and PVCVD now each take up a share of 50%. What's the difference between the two in mass production?
Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, this is a good question. So from what we know so far, first of all, the early capacity commissioning cycle of PECVD is longer than that of LPCVD, but the efficiency and the yield of PECVD after stable mass production can also reach almost the same level as LPCVD. From the perspective of cost, PECVD originally had a slight advantage over LPCVD, but now most of the LPCVD capacity has been upgraded from single-throw single wafer to single-throw dual wafers. The cost of LPCVD has been reduced as well. Then the overall cost of LPCVD can be close to PECVD. In general, the performance of the two routers is very close, but the PECVD process will be relatively more difficult, but the subsequent cost reduction potential of PECVD will be relatively large. Yeah, like that.
Thank you. I've got another question for N-type technology, which is heterojunction. So, Derek, do you think it is possible for heterojunction to become the mainstream technology, given its production costs have been very close to, or could even become lower than TACOM's cost in the future?
This is really a hot topic in the past 1 or 2 years. So first of all, the junction may indeed achieve a lower module cost than TOPCon with 0BB technology, thinner wafers, cell cold paste, and other technologies in the near future. But at present, the junction still fails to widen a gap with TOPCon in terms of cell or module efficiency. Now that gap is only within 10 watts or less. Given the huge TOPCon production capacity in the current market, unless the power of the junction modules can be about 20 watts higher than that of TOPCon, and at the same time with comparable or lower cost with junction, then the junction's market share can have a bigger breakthrough. That's why we still think the market share of the junction will increase, but it's not realistic that the junction will be the mainstream technology in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Derek. We can see that N-type technology plays a critical role in the solar industry development. So we have picked another question for Dora on N-type. Dora, is there any challenge for developing N-type products in terms of wafers?
Okay, thanks for this question. Yes, actually, for the N-type wafer, we can see the numbers is growing rapidly in this year. In the January of this year, the market share should about 10% in the initial of this year. But by the end of this year, the N-type wafers ratio shall be arrive about 40% in the end of this year. And also we think the ratio should be continue to grow in next year. And for the challenges, yes, we do think there are challenges for the N-type wafers production in next year, especially from the two parts. One of the parts should be for the quartz crucible. Yes, for the quartz crucibles quality, the supply, and the price, and the production processing during the ingot pulling. That should be one of the challenges for the N-type wafers production. And the second part, it should be for the wafers production processing. For example, for the impurities control method during the processing, and for the quality control and the technology know-how in the N-type wafer production. So we do think technically from the two parts, it shall be the challenges for the N-type wafers production in the next year. Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you, Dora. We have now finished answering questions about the solar industry. The next, we will have Penny to answer 2 questions regarding the energy storage market. The first question we picked is an interesting trend we found this year. Penny, do you have the idea why there is a huge gap between cell shipments and installations in the same year?
Thank you, Ellie. Actually, the majority of energy storage demand comes from large-scale storage projects. As the demand for large-scale energy storage is significantly increasing each year, the installation process takes more than 1 year to complete. And this leads to a situation where it appears that there is more storage shipped but not installed in a given year. Also, the underestimation of off-grid installation and the gap between nameplate capacity and actual capacity, as well as the losses and replacement during the installation process, may also lead to contribute to the disparity. And in fact, the gap seems to be higher for the following years, which is due to the anticipation of even higher demand for the energy storage in the future. However, the standardization of process has accelerated the installation speed of energy storage, increasing the volume of cells shipped and installed in the same year. So overall, the gaps are mainly from large-scale storage projects. And although the numerical gap between supply and demand may seem to increase, but actually the actual proportion of gap will gradually ease over time. Thank you.
Thank you. And just like the solar industry, we have received many questions about the price movement. Penny, do you think the price of energy storage will keep dropping next year? When is the end?
Thank you, Ellie. The average prices for 280 ampere energy storage cell in this year, Q3, fell by 41% compared to Q1 this year. And as of the end of October, some manufacturers purportedly offer prices quoted at 0.4 Chinese yuan per watt hour for bulk orders. In Q4, the average prices were reached 0.45 Chinese yuan per watt hour for 280 ampere energy storage cells, with quarterly decline of no more than 5%. And we believe sales and ESS prices will keep declining as raw material prices fall and the price war in China is continuing. Due to the oversupply of battery, we consider the prices will keep declining with a slower pace in the next year. However, it won't keep dropping drastically as this year because the price in China are almost reaching closely to their manufacturing costs. But in other places, there are still some room for price to drop. And we estimate the FOB prices for utility scale DC coupled ESS in the US will stay below at $150 over the next coming 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny, and all our panelists for sharing your expertise today. This is the end of our Q&A session. We hope you found this webinar informative and valuable. We will send you a survey link after the end of the webinar, and you can download today's slides after filling out the survey. If there is anything that we can do to help your business, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you. We will see you next time.